Alright everybody, today I have an incredibly important announcement to make here. So, as some of you may know, the final Splatfest was announced, today, so that's nice, But, that got me thinking, because, we know about all these Splatfests, but how will this affect the Splatoon lore? Not just in the future, but like, how has it affected Splatoon overall? And today, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you think is probably wrong. Now, over here, we have our comprehensive list of the Splatoon timeline. Everything might not make sense here, but in about a second, it sure as hell will. So first, within this timeline is Kieran, which has existed since 1885, and they make drinks and stuff, and they have an involvement because in Splatoon lore there was a milk tea versus lemon tea Splatfest that they had sponsored. Similarly, Meiji and Glico had sponsored the bamboo shoots versus mushrooms and thin Pocky versus thick Pocky, respectively. 7-Eleven is a franchise that exists directly within Splatoon lore. Like, they actually have brands within the franchise. There are clothes from 7-Eleven, therefore 7-Eleven still exists within Splatoon. McDonald's also exists within Splatoon. There are the implication that characters will regularly eat at 7-Eleven, or not 7-Eleven, at McDonald's, sorry. Uniqlo, however the fuck you want to say that, is a clothing company. I don't think there are any clothes by Uniqlo that have been in the game, but there was a Splatfest regarding it, and it does exist as a brand within the lore. It just is not a Splatfest clothing brand. Hello Kitty. There is Hello Kitty stuff. She exists as a mascot within the lore. She's not a character that exists. There are characters that do exist, which we will get into those. But, with Nike, there is also the fact that it also has, similarly to 7-Eleven, has clothing within the game that you can wear and put on your avatar, or whatever you want to call your funky little dude. There is also the revolving sushi bar, which is involved directly. So is NPB. These are both just Splatfest things. These zones don't matter as much, but they are still interconnected as brands between this whole circle. So, let's get, before we get into the later stuff, let's get into Square Enix over here. So Square Enix exists because Monster Hunter, as an established brand, it is established that they are sponsored by Square Enix to do that Monster Hunter Splatfest. And, I'm not even lying because, the Squid Sisters, they said it. They said it themselves. I am a smart person. So, they are involved. Next, let's get into the complicated stuff here for a second. So, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Transformers, SpongeBob, and Squid Girl, all of these things are connected in some form. So, let's talk about Transformers. I know next to nothing about Transformers, but, as a franchise, at least. But, Transformers, the Transformers timeline starts in 1987, and I don't know how long it goes for. It doesn't matter to me, because we're talking about Splatoon, not Transformers. We're talking about, whatever is supposed to be talked about here. So the Transformers, they are aliens, and they are also cars, and so I'd say that produces a considerable amount of radiation, and therefore, it directly correlates to the creation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as characters. And so, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as characters, they are also radioactive, and so it could be implied that the radioactivity comes from the Transformers, and so it comes into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the radiation from the Transformers and Ninja Turtles could also have directly affected SpongeBob, which I theorize takes place pre-Mollusk era in Splatoon lore. the mollusk era is the point where the squids and other sea creatures had begun to evolve to be on land and to just assimilate within land society, because at that point global warming has wiped out all of civilization. But SpongeBob exists within that time period, and I would like to say that he exists before the mollusk era and directly correlating to that point, because there is a scene in the first SpongeBob movie where they go onto a beach with humans and meet David Hasselhoff, and David Hasselhoff is in fact kind of robotic, and so we can theorize that David Hasselhoff in the SpongeBob movie is not in fact the real David Hasselhoff, it is in fact a robot, and humanity is replaced with robots, and that is where SpongeBob's lore comes in. And post-mollusk era, we enter the timeline of Splatoon. And you might ask, why is Squid Girl involved here? Now you see, Squid Girl has had numerous deals within the Splatoon franchise of its own. Now, in Splatoon, there are characters that live, there are like brands and stuff, and I theorize that Squid Girl is like the equivalent to Hatsune Miku in terms that she's not a real person, but she does exist as like an icon within Splatoon, because as like a fictional character. And it makes sense. It doesn't make sense at all, but it does. So you see, because there is a brand correlating to Squid Girl. If Squid Girl was a real character, then she would not have her own brand within the universe, and there would not be stuff that correlates to Squid Girl in Splatoon. So that is where it's established. Almost all of these things are affected by brands, including the Transformers, Ninja Turtles, and SpongeBob, even though they directly affect the preceding events of Splatoon. So, where do the Splatfests for the Pokemon and, you know, Smash Brothers Splatfests occur? Now, you see, let's say Nintendo is the company that produces Splatoon. The reason that no Nintendo properties are on the timeline is because Splatoon characters will acknowledge that characters from Smash Brothers and characters from Smash and from Pokemon are in fact Nintendo characters. They will not establish that Splatoon characters are Nintendo characters. Therefore, Splatoon is not part of Nintendo within the Splatoon universe, but also it is, making it like an infinite like possibility ring. That's why it is not in the timeline, because there's no way to define it. Anyways, this timeline makes absolutely no sense. Thank you for not paying attention at all.